Hey everyone, during this video we're going to talk about Adderall withdrawals and as well just withdrawals to any sort of stimulant that you're taking, typically for ADD or ADHD. And I would say that the number one asked question that I get is, how do I overcome Adderall withdrawals? People complain about the fatigue, the inability to focus, how they feel in social situations, their confidence, and the list goes on and on. We'll talk about Adderall, we'll talk about the causes of the withdrawals, the severity of the withdrawals, and as well, just some nootropics that can help you overcome the withdrawals and get back to that best you. So firstly, what is Adderall? It's a psychostimulant drug that is used primarily to treat ADHD. So as well to treat with narcolepsy. And it's been used in conditions where people have chronic fatigue, and in some cases with the particular drug, there is a very high potential for dependency. And for that reason, it's very, very often abused and it's used for off-label purposes. So a lot of college students are taking it. You'd be shocked. There's some studies showing that 10 to 20% of students are actually taking it. And although many people have concerns about taking it, it's just that Adderall has been around for so long. It's one of the more studied drugs and one of the more documented drugs. So for that reason, it's just been in the pharmaceutical industry for a very long time. And as well, there's no documented long-term effect. So a lot of people take Adderall and they really believe that it's a drug they're going to continue using for who knows, like the rest of their life. So in terms of the withdrawal experience itself, it's going to depend on a few things. Of course, it's going to depend on the time span, so how long you take it. There are people who don't experience very severe withdrawals if they take Adderall for only like a month or 2 months, or if they take it in a fashion where it's every other day or not every day. But if you're taking it for an extended period of time, obviously you'd expect that the withdrawals are going to be tougher. As well, the frequency. So under that umbrella of time, like to what frequency are you using it? Are you using it once a day? Are you using it twice per day? Some people actually snort it because it supposedly does get in the system faster and with a bit more intensity. So you could make your Adderall a bit more efficiently. And as well, like the dosage, like typical dosages, they can range anywhere between 5 milligrams to 60 milligrams and so on, right? So as far as your tolerance is concerned, this is also variable, which will play a toll into how severe the withdrawals will be, because some people, they're slightly more sensitive to it for whatever reason. But I would say from the moment that you do stop taking it, and I've never taken Adderall myself, but I have taken other prescription drugs for ADHD, I would not go cold turkey unless I had some sort of like a supplement regimen, or I really just had a schedule. I had accountability. Maybe I had like a babysitter with me and just was determined to get back to my normal self. But I want to talk about some supplements that may actually help. And in terms of this, I would just look at what supplements would you really be able to get like a natural stimulatory response from. So the number one nootropic when it comes to this would be L-tyrosine. If you're unfamiliar with L-tyrosine, it's used in a lot of pre-workout formulas. It works synergistically with caffeine. So if you take some caffeine, you take some L-tyrosine, you're going to essentially have like more energy, more focus, and the ability to fight stress physically and mentally is very, very high. So L-tyrosine, definitely look into it. I prefer L-tyrosine over N-acetyl L-tyrosine, although N-acetyl L-tyrosine, it's also good. And I want to just show you this one supplement which I found, and I seem to really like it. It's by Now Foods. It's called Thyroid Energy. And I came across this supplement because it does a lot to fight stress. So it has your L-tyrosine in it. You can find the nutrient profile. It has your L-tyrosine, it has ashwagandha, it has zinc, a mix of vitamin B6, and a lot of stuff which is just going to help support natural energy levels, right? But again, just be very attentive to the symptoms of withdrawal. So it'll very often include anxiety, some people suicidal thoughts, very commonly difficulty concentrating, nightmares, fatigue, increased appetite, because it's an appetite suppressant, of course. In terms of supplementation, I would say L-tyrosine, and then anything which is a stimulant but not anywhere as severe. So an example of that would be like If you're somebody that uses Nicorette or nicotine, sure, it's not the ideal supplement or the ideal nootropic because it's not necessarily healthy. However, it is gonna work on different pathways that will keep you stimulated in a different fashion, and it'll just ensure that your cold turkey experience isn't necessarily awful. So that is a stimulant, and as well, I would actually say I am pro caffeine in this scenario. I don't typically advise people take like more than 400 milligrams of caffeine, but this is one scenario where you just may be better off taking more caffeine. If you're taking like two coffees a day, you maybe can bump it up to three to four coffees just to help you again fight that Adderall withdrawal. And again, caffeine is going to work on different pathways. There's other stimulants you can look into. You can look into ephedrine. You can look into yohimbine. Obviously, drinking a lot of water, but realistically, just accept the fact that it's going to be very, very difficult. I experienced it when I was taking Concerta, and I was on Concerta for maybe 5 or 6 months. And fortunately, it only took me maybe 2 to 3 weeks of those really, really horrible withdrawal of that really horrible withdrawal window. What I experienced was that just a drop in mood, inability to like have any wit during my conversations. Like everything was so serious, and I just didn't want to necessarily interact with people. I mean, you're just introverted to the max. You're tired. You just want to nap all the time. However, I was knowledgeable as to what Concerta has done. I was knowledgeable as to what the experience would be like. Therefore, I just really just tried to maintain the discipline that I'm going to get over it and I'm going to fight through it. And yeah, and I just really did things that I know would consume time. I've studied a lot, read, like kind of put that accountability on myself to like choose a course where I have an exam in maybe a couple of weeks. Therefore, I would just be forced to study. I wouldn't really have a choice, and just get through it and make sure the accountability is around there. If your friends are also Adderall users, it's a good idea, obviously, to stay away from them. People have done some very interesting things. Anecdotally, I've read online somebody was experimenting with 50,000 IUs of vitamin D, and that seemed to help their withdrawals. But for most people, there unfortunately is not a solution medication. But me, because I've tried a lot of things, I would say if it were me, I would not take a cold turkey. I would maybe take it every other day for a little bit. I would take a lot of caffeine. I would experiment a little bit with ephedrine, and I would periodically use modafinil and phenylparacetam, and obviously drink a lot of water. Make sure I get my workouts and have a lot of sleep. Make sure it's very deep sleep, and make sure that no caffeine does interfere with my sleep. So I would really only have caffeine maybe the first 6 or 7 hours upon waking. Hope that was helpful, guys. I really do feel a lot of sympathy for people who ask me this question, because it is just a brutal experience to be suffering from Adderall withdrawals. But just notice that there's light at the end of the tunnel. Things will get better. If you're coming across this video, then really, really hope it was helpful, guys. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time.